Facility support services is not going to win any marketing awards. But behind the dual name of this NAICS code, it's responsible for keeping the power flowing, doors unlocked, fires out, and missions on track.
The best performers in this NAICS code don't just describe what they do, they walk in already rehearsed of what could go wrong. That's how you go from being another bidder to being the trusted problem solver that they want on speed dial.
That's the mind shift from vendor to infrastructure partner. Welcome back to Cracking the Code, where federal market intelligence meets real-world strategy, and where we somehow make NAICS codes sound slightly more fun than what these sound. I'm your host, Elizabeth, and today we're diving deep into NAICS 561210, Facility Support Services. Let's go and be honest, Facility Support Services is not going to win any marketing awards. But behind the dual name of this NAICS code, it's responsible for keeping the power flowing, doors unlocked, fires out, and missions on track. From fiscal year 20 to fiscal year 24, it accounted for nearly $53 billion in spend, covering everything from base operations, power plants, to detention centers and nuclear sites. With me today is Mon, our lead researcher, and of course, Rina Bhatia, CEO of BidExecs, who always brings the strategic fire. Let's go ahead and get into it. So Mon, for those who just see facility support and are thinking about mowing lawns, what are they missing?
Oh, they are missing a lot. NAICS code 561210 covers full spectrum operational support. Think base operations at DoD, installations, contingency logistics, fire and emergency responses, utility plant ops, HVAC, food and billeting. It's the federal equivalent of running a city, and the demand is consistent.
And Rina, how should subcontractors reframe their thinking here?
Yeah, a lot of people hear facility support and think cleaning crews and HVAC techs. But under 561210, you are essentially being asked to operate mission-critical ecosystems. This isn't about just upkeep, it's about resilience. You are running the infrastructure that makes sure the lab stays secure. The responders have water, power, shelter during a crisis. The agencies issuing these contracts don't just want vendors. They want contractors who have already thought through the what ifs. If a blackout hits an overseas base, how fast can you restore critical systems? If a water plant fails at a FEMA site, what's your backup plan? The best performers in this NAICS code don't just describe what they do, they walk in already rehearsed of what could go wrong. That's how you go from being another bidder to being the trusted problem solver that they want on speed dial.
Great. Thank you for that, Rina. And Mon, let's get a little more specific here. Who are these agencies who are consistently spending in this space, and what's their driving procurement behavior? Are we seeing long-term programs, one-time spikes, or mission-driven dependencies?
Our detailed report has a ton of research and well-articulated information to inform the audience about agencies and spending. So I will just be summarizing some of the data for you here. I believe what I'm sharing is a slide 2 in our report. And so the analysis of the last 5 fiscal years of spending shows that DoD leads with over $31 billion in awarded contracts, DOE with $4.6 billion, DHS with $4.3 billion, State Department with $3.6 billion, while GSA and DOJ each spend more than $1 billion. And slide 7 actually confirms DOE's major dollars are concentrated in a few large, long-duration side contracts tied to nuclear labs and cleanup operations. But this gets more interesting when you compare it to other agencies. DOE's 4.6 billion accounts for just 325 contracts. That's roughly 14 million per award. Now, compare that with GSA. As we slide 13, GSA awarded 2150 contracts for a total of 2.9 billion. That's just roughly 135,000 per contract on average. DoD sits between the two with 22,855 contracts, totaling 31 billion or about 1.35 million per award. So here's what the data says. DOE goes for depth over frequency. GSA goes for frequency over volume, and DoD spreads both volume and scale. For contractors, this isn't just trivia, it's a strategy. Who you target and how you position depends entirely on which game you're playing.
Mom, those are huge numbers. And Reno, with such distinct spending patterns, contract sizes, and technical expectations between agencies like DoD, DOE, and GSA, how would you guide contractors to choose the right entry point? What signals tell you a company is better suited for one agency over the ecosystem of another?
Yeah, the first thing I look for is alignment between the company's strengths and the operational style of the agency. Let's say you're a small firm that thrives in high volume, fast paced environments. You've got search staffing processes in place, a track record of O&M work across multiple facilities, and a quick mobilization model. That's a natural fit for DoD, where contracts like BOS or LogCAP demand responsiveness and integration across services. Now flip that. If you are strong in compliance heavy work, maybe you've supported regulated environments, handled OSHA, EM 385s, or even radiological controls, then energy is likely your lane. They issue fewer contracts, but as Zaman pointed out, those contracts are massive and long term. They need partners who understand how to sustain operations for years, not months. And if you've built your business on high frequency, low complexity task orders, things like janitorial, HVAC, groundskeeping, then maybe GS is your entry point, especially through vehicles like the GSA MAS, BMO, base management operations, where competition is tight but predictable. So the signal isn't just about what you have done, it's about how you operate. Match your operating DNA to the agency's expectations. That's how you get in and, quite honestly, stay in.
Thank you, Rena, for that. And Mon, people would mainly assume that everything flows through IDIQs and GWACs, but what does the data show under this NAICS code?
That's actually quite a common assumption, but our research tells a different story. From fiscal year 20 to fiscal year 24, over 96% of contracts awarded under NAICS 561210 were standalone direct awards, not task orders under IDVs. Only 3 to 4% came through IDVs each year. So even though there are huge vehicles like LogCap 5 or BMO that get a lot of visibility, the actual contract volume mostly sits outside those vehicles.
That's a major insight. So the real action isn't just on the vehicles, it's within open competition?
Exactly. If you're focused only on vehicle-based opportunities like BMO or Boss Max, you are missing where most of the action is. From fiscal year 20 to fiscal year 24, over 96% of these NAICS code contracts were awarded as direct standalone contracts, not task orders. That means smart contractors are running a dual track strategy. Yes, position for key vehicles, but also build your direct award capture muscle. That's where volume, flexibility, and small businesses access still live.
And that's where smaller firms should really pay attention. Direct awards, especially small business set asides, give you an opening to prime and prove performance. And from there, you can scale into task orders later. But don't let the term standalone fool you. These contracts are still multi-year, multi-site, and mission critical. They're not buried in a contract vehicle that locks out newcomers.
And Rena, what makes a good subcontractor under this NAICS codes?
Specialization, reliability, and readiness. Prime contractors are under pressure to meet that 30 to 40% small business goals, handle multifunctional requirements, manage surge staff across CONUS and OCONUS, right? It's not just the United States, it's also our bases overseas, our installations outside the United States. So if you're a small business that can take over HVAC or emergency services or even snow removal with no hand-holding, then you are gold. That's what a great subcontractor does for these primes.
Any good practices for teaming here?
Yeah, absolutely. First, decide if you just want to play in the prime sub market, or does a joint venture make sense? We're seeing a lot of emphasis on joint ventures. On complex contracts, joint ventures can give small firms ownership and scale. They also bring value-based teaming. Don't just show up for that socioeconomic checkbox. Show up with a solution. Focus on your capabilities first and your socioeconomic set aside after.
Thank you for that. And guys, I want to talk small business here. We know that NAICS 561210 sees participation from both small and large firms. But what is the real picture when it comes to who is actually winning these awards?
The numbers are clear. From fiscal year 20 to fiscal year 24, small businesses were awarded 8,679 contracts under NAICS code 561210, compared to 3,931 contracts for large businesses. So small businesses aren't just competing, they are winning more than 2/3 of all awards.
That's impressive. Rena, what does this tell you about small businesses' behavior in this space?
Yeah, that's a very interesting statistics compared to some of the other NAICS codes that we have seen. And what it tells me is that small businesses are showing up smart. They're showing up strong. They're not just chasing what's set aside for them. They're going after full and open competitions and holding their own. So if you look at our report, the number of small business sides aren't that many, but the number of small business awards far exceed the actual set asides, which tells us that small businesses are playing in that full and open space and they're winning. And we are seeing firms that understand the complexity of integrated facility support, from HVAC and custodial, utility plant management, and emergency response. These aren't entry-level contracts. They require real experience, scalable processes, leadership that knows how to operate in a 24/7 environment. Some of the most ambitious small businesses are leveraging their designations, 8A, SDVOSB, hub zones, but they're not hiding behind them. They're using them to open doors, then proving that they can deliver at the same level as the big players. So the real play isn't just getting a set aside, it's building past performance, partnering wisely, and targeting contracts that stretch your capacity just enough to level up, punch up, punch stronger, punch above your size. It's mission context.
And you say 561210 is mission critical. Why is that?
Because let's face it, when something goes wrong, you don't want a help desk. You want a contractor who has already solved the problem while you're still holding the clipboard. Infrastructure is mission. This is important for our agencies. If HVAC goes down at a secure facility, you lose the server room. If water purification fails at a DOE lab, you risk radioactive contamination. If a base doesn't have billeting for incoming troops, that's an operational delay. All right. So 561210 is national readiness, risk containment, treated that way.
That makes so much sense. Thank you for clarifying that. And as we close here, there's a lot of complexity in this NAICS. Agencies behave differently. The contract structure vary. Small businesses are clearly performing here. What's the strategic through line? What should companies be doing right now if they want to compete seriously under this NAICS code?
Yeah. First, study the agency before you study the opportunity. This NAICS code behaves differently across the different agencies. We've been talking examples of DoD, Energy, GSA, DOT, State Department. All these agencies behave very differently. They use this NAICS code very differently. You need to tailor your readiness, teaming, and even your compliance tools to the agency's culture. No compromise there. I would say prepare to perform in environments where failure isn't an option. That means documenting your risk mitigation plans, safety history, surge staffing capacity before the RFP drops. And last, think operationally, not transactionally. The contractors who win here are the ones who walk in, as I said, acting like they're responsible for that infrastructure even before that contract is awarded.
That's the mind shift from vendor to infrastructure partner.
Exactly. NAICS 561210 is for companies that don't flinch when that power goes out or when mission expands overnight. It's your strength. Lean in.
Perfectly said, Rena. And if you want to go deeper, you can download the full research linked in the show notes. And if you're ready to align your BD strategy to real federal spending data, reach out to the Bid Execs team. We help you stop chasing and start winning. As always, thank you for tuning in to Cracking the Code. We also want to take this time to thank our partners at Orange Slices AI. Their subscribers get exclusive 30-day early access to this podcast and the supporting research reports. Subscribe, share, and we will see you next time on Cracking the Code.